tell you a story about uh, open face sandwiches. I was wondering last night, where did they come from? Where did we get open face beef sandwiches? And believe it or not, these things go all the way back to the Middle Ages. And well, what happened is they had these loaves of bread they called trenchers, and they didn't have plates back then. So they give the workers, they're like, it was more like a beef stew, but it was, basically the beef and the gravy and the potatoes, and they just serve it on this really sturdy bread called trenchers, and that was like a really popular food then. When the colonists came here to the states, they brought those with them. That's why they're really popular on like in the Northeast and in the East Coast. But then they're in the Midwest. In the Midwest, they call them open face sandwiches, but in New York, in the East Coast, they call them Manhattans, and they have them in California. They have, I mean, anywhere you go, you can find these open face sandwiches. And so I got to thinking about that. Paul Revere probably had an open face sandwich. Maybe when he sat down after he was done writing, maybe somebody made him an open face sandwich. And all those middle aged people that would come home from work or take their lunch break, whatever they did for those things, and they would eat an open face sandwich. Um, they're like historic. And if you watch my intro video, I was thinking about what they call, or what I was thinking about food and culture and how much it binds us and how much it unites us. And even you think about the word communion, like when we commune, it really involves the idea of having fellowship around a dinner table and talking to each other and connecting and bonding. And so much so that uh, if you think about the Last Supper with Jesus and the apostles, and they're sitting around and they're eating, and Jesus says, "This is my bread," or grabs the bread, "This is my flesh," uh, and then that's a sacrament or that practice in churches today that we call communion, and it's that literal, that visceral, that connection between eating and communing, that it's even the basis of one of the most recognized religious practices in the world. And so I was just thinking about that. You're just sitting there eating this meal, and this meal is takes you through time, takes you through space, and connects you to everyone that's ever eaten one. You can have lunch with Paul Revere or, you know, George Washington or Abraham Lincoln or, virtually any of those middle aged guys from England. And they have them in other parts of the world. There's recipes online for France and Denmark and Belgium, and like every country has their own little version of it. And it's kind of spawned into other things like Italian beef, you know, dipped in that gravy. So, where it's not open faced, but the basic concept of the bread and the meat and the gravy together. It's like it makes you realize how important food is to our functioning as a society. Without food, there is no communion. Even as dropping in the onion, even some people believe that um, even the sources of language, like the reason we have language is so that the first people that could use it or that used it, the people that invented it, might have probably just started with sounds to help with hunting, right? And so then those sounds to help with hunting, to gather the food, became the words that they used as they communed around the food that they had hunted. So I don't know if I'm going off on a weird thing here, but it's just the more I think about it, the more I'm just amazed at the connection between culture and food and our fellowship with one another. You know, no matter who you're voting for, no matter what your politics are, you can sit down and you can just have a roast beef sandwich.